Hi, my name is Jarl and I was tagged by Roosevelt at the MI Wilderness channel to do a Meet the Bushcrafters video. In this video, the purpose is to introduce myself, explain my channel name, and tell you how I got into bushcrafting. My channel name is luvhambo, which has nothing to do with bushcrafting. Hambo is a traditional Scandinavian musical form that I happen to love, hence luvhambo. I made it up when I was searching YouTube videos for hambos a lot of years ago before I started posting bushcraft videos. I haven't changed it since then because YouTube doesn't allow that. But when you get to the channel, you'll notice that it's called Woodsman Comforts, because that's what it's about. Sharing knowledge, skills, abilities that boost your confidence, competence, and comfort in the woods. And my hope is that people will become more capable in the woods and feel more at home in the woods and treat it with more respect. I got introduced to what we now call bushcraft by our family's attempts to meet the basic necessities of daily living. Food, for example. We hunted and fished a lot, not because we thought it was a sport, but because often that was our principal food source. Or shelter. We learned the difference between a house and a home. We always had a home, but we didn't always live in a house. I've lived in the back of semi-trailer trucks, in homemade trailers, in real trailers, and even a time or two in a car for a short period. My favorite, however, was living in a tent in the woods. Now, I suppose child welfare people would frown on that today, but truth be told, I loved every minute of it, and I'm grateful to have been able to grow up that way. We had endless woods to wander, creeks to swim in, lots of plants and animals to feed our curiosity, and all those kinds of adventures that you romanticize as only a kid can do. Now, along the way, we did not develop any sophisticated bushcraft skills, but we did develop a love and awe of the woods, a comfort with being there, and good enough skills to get by. When school time came around, we were usually in a house, and so we contented ourselves with turning whatever vacant lot we found into our wilderness. We trapped rabbits with milk crate boxes, we camped out in cardboard boxes, we made secret tunnel systems through the briar patches, which were great for escaping neighborhood bullies, angry parents, and of course household chores. We made secret hiding places up in trees, did all the things that kids left to their own devices will do. And then when summer liberated us from school, we were usually back in the outdoor setting wherever my father happened to be working. In addition to teaching us basic outdoor skills, our parents also impressed on us the awesomeness of nature and the presence of God in nature. And that, to get a feel for what that attitude was, I'll refer you to two things to read. One is in the Bible, it's in the book of Job, chapters 38 and 39. The other is the famous speech, often erroneously attributed to Chief Seattle, and I'll give you a link to that in the description below. Besides an attitude of reverence for nature, our parents also gave us an attitude of gratitude for nature. My mother would often tell us the lessons that you can find in the Gospel in Matthew chapter 6, verse 8 and verses 25 to 32, I think. God knows what you need, and nature is His gift to you and His way of taking care of you. And as long as greedy people don't either destroy nature or take it away all for themselves, you'll always be able to feed and clothe and house yourself. So those were the two attitudes, I think, that were the dominant bushcraft attitudes that we got growing up. We also learned four really important principles that have served me well through life. principle was go see for yourself, or experience is the best teacher. Now, of course, other people's experience is often the most prudent teacher, but in the end, you'll only know if you go see for yourself. And when you've learned to do something well, when you're cold, tired, hungry, and discouraged and standing in the dark and rain, then you can say you've learned it, you know. The second principle is pay attention to your surroundings. That's about not walking along blindly, diddy-bopping through your environment without noticing the resources that are there, the potential threats that are there, the opportunities that are there. It's also about the principle of not letting your feet go anywhere your brain didn't go first. The principle is important because it's a lot easier to get into trouble than to get out of trouble. As in, it's easier to get on an ice floe than to get off of it in the middle of the river a half a mile downstream. Now, the last time recently I ignored that principle, I got mugged by 5 guys in a gas station. The third principle was don't assume. Don't assume that water's safe to drink. Don't assume the trail will automatically lead back to where you started. Don't assume that bear will leave you alone or that gopher won't bite. Check your assumptions. A few years ago, while I was trailing a deer, I crossed a road that I assumed, without checking, was the same north-south road I had come into the area on. 4 hours later, at dusk, in snow up to my crotch on the ground, I looked up and realized that I had no idea where I was. Long story short, I was 6 miles away from where I thought I was, and getting back to my car was not the fun part of that trip. The fourth principle I want to mention is be prepared to take care of yourself, instead of thinking that you're entitled for the world at large to take care of you. Attention to that principle is what made it possible for me to trap muskrat and mink for extra money, to hunt and fish for food, and even to get by in a more diverse non-woodland setting. In my early 20s, I was homeless for the better part of a year in Chicago. And although it's a very different environment, the challenges and principles are still the same. Safety, shelter, water, fire, food, wayfinding. It's those kinds of skills that enabled me to make it through that experience okay. So what keeps me involved in bushcrafting is valuing those principles and those attitudes, plus just plain enjoying being out in nature with all of its beauty as well as all of its reality checks. I appreciate this opportunity to introduce myself to you and to introduce my luvhambo YouTube channel to you. I hope you'll visit me there. I also appreciate the community of bushcrafters that I found on YouTube, because they keep me motivated and you keep teaching me and you keep extending the hand of bush friendship to me. So I want to thank you who are viewing this for taking this little hike with me, and I hope you'll join me on the YouTube channel and the many other excellent bushcrafting channels on YouTube. Till then, see you on down the trail.